Hey gorgeous, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm making Dombolo, also known as steamed bread in English or Ujeqe in Zulu. I'm making this as part of a new cooking series here on my channel with all my tried and true recipes. This recipe is very easy to follow and the Dombolo tastes delicious. I don't mean to blow my own horn, but trust me on this one, you want to use it at a family event. So I started off with sieving 3 cups of all-purpose flour. I like to be efficient and organized every time I'm cooking, so I like to have all my measured ingredients out. I have listed all the ingredients and all the steps on the description box for your convenience. I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Kataza. I hope you're doing great, and if you're not, I hope that this video lifts your spirit and obviously gets you cooking. Starting off with the ingredients, we've got 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of yeast, 3 tablespoons of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of salt, and for the wet ingredients, we've got 3 tablespoons of oil or butter and 1.5 milliliters of lukewarm water. Optionally, you can add 1 thinly sliced carrot for decorating or any vegetable of your choice. So, step number 1. I like to mix all the dry ingredients together, the flour, salt, sugar, and yeast. I like to use my whisk and I mix it thoroughly and just make sure that all the ingredients are well incorporated into the flour. And then step number 2 is mixing the wet ingredients, the oil and the water. I add the water gradually. This helps to achieve a manageable, well-hydrated dough without compromising the dough structure. In the past, I made a mistake of adding all the water all at once, and that resulted in a sloppy, sticky mess. This technique is a bit slow, but it's a proven technique, you know. So I just add the water little by little, and this honestly helps me get the best consistency that I like. And then after I add the water and thoroughly mix it into the flour, I'll move on to kneading, which is my favorite part. I'll tell you all about it. I was being sarcastic when I said kneading is my favorite part, which is step 3, kneading for 10 minutes. The purpose for kneading any dough is to develop the gluten and incorporate micro bubbles into the mass of the dough, which will inflate during proofing and baking. A step I think at this point used to dislike. I'm slowly starting to enjoy it. I am recently kind of getting into the groove of what kneading is supposed to be, which is basically pushing the dough away from you using the heel of your palm, folding it into itself using your fingers. And I've got a few tips for this. I start off with washing my hands and just basically having like a clean slate. And I rub flour on my hands so that the dough does not stick to my palms. And then I make sure that I have lots of flour on the surface so that the dough does not stick to the surface, which is something I used to struggle with in the past. So I take my time with this, literally 10 minutes. I have something playing in the background. Right now I'm currently watching The Residents. If you know me, I'm a diehard for any medical show, so that's what I was watching here in the background. And if I've got a little bit of stress every time I'm like baking, this is really good because then I get to decompress and just like let it out. So yeah, I was kneading for a good amount of time. I almost forgot to add the thinly sliced carrots into my dough, but I'm just going to knead the carrot into the dough right now. You can use any veggie of your choice. Some people prefer corn, some people prefer pepper, whatever that floats your boat. For me, it's carrot. I also just think it looks nice. I also prefer it thinly grated because it's not big and bulky, and I just think it's aesthetic. That's just me. So I knead this for a good amount of time, and then I'm going to move on to step number 4, which is resting the dough, which is very important because it helps to relax the gluten and it helps the dough become more balanced, elastic and smooth, which is very important for any type of dough that you're working with. So I had already oiled my bowl with some oil, and I'm just going to place my dough in there, and I'll just let this rest for about an hour. Today was a very gloomy day, so I had preheated the oven just to create a warm environment in my oven, and then I let it sit for about an hour. This is such a good tip for any gloomy day. It helps to just proof your dough much quicker. And then here's the dough. It's all proofed and ready to move on to the next step, which is step number 5. I will knead this again with some oil on my hands this time around, and also just oiling the bowl that I'll be using to cook with. Today I just went with something more traditional, like an old school enamel bowl. Like, this is just OG. Like, if this does not say steam braid to you, then I don't know what does. So then I knead it. Again, I've got some oil on my hands so that the dough does not stick to my hands and also does not stick to the surface. This is just to give it a nice shape before I transfer it into the bowl before steaming it. And then now I'm just going to make it into a cute little ball, and I'll put it in my enamel bowl. Like, how many times am I going to say bowl in this part of the video? Anyway, we move on. I've already have my water boiling. I'm using my favorite pot. Anyway, so I put a cloth just before I close the lid of my pot, just because I don't want any steam dripping down on my dough to make it wet. And then I let this steam for about 45 minutes, and then once it's done, it will be ready. I've made the mistake in the past to open the lid of my steam braid prematurely, and then my dough flopped. So I would recommend you put just enough water to let it steam. Also, let it steam on very low heat, and then don't open your lid or anything. And then here you have it, the steam braid. It was so good. So I'm just transferring it from the bowl into like a rack, just for air ventilation purposes, so that it's not all soggy. And then now I'm testing out the bread. As you can see, it's looking beautiful. It's looking tasty. And it was delicious. So now I'm just going to cut the slices. This is just for me, and also just to show you guys that the bread really turned out great. Please comment down below and let me know if this is a recipe you would be willing to try, or have you tried a similar recipe, and if you have, please just drop it down in the comment section. I really appreciate it, and also just to share with the community what is up. So thank you so much for watching until this far. I'm really happy that the bread actually turned out, because if it hadn't, this video wouldn't be up. But anyway, I'll see you in my next cooking vlog. Love you. Bye.